They surrounded him from every direction. No backup, no radio, no escape. In World War II, this is the moment most soldiers never survived. And what makes this moment disturbing is not what he did, but what he didn't do. He didn't run, he didn't shout, he didn't fire a single shot at first. German soldiers were closing in, confident, relaxed, already certain the fight was over. They believed he was finished. What they couldn't understand was his face. No fear, no panic, just calm. One of the Germans even lowered his weapon slightly. Another stepped closer, curious. That single step would change everything. Because what happened next was never written clearly in reports, never explained in detail, and for years most people believed it couldn't be true. But the men who were there never forgot it. And by the time the forest went quiet again, only one man was still standing. They thought it was over for him. Surrounded, outnumbered, no way out. In the frozen forests of Europe during World War II, moments like this decided whether a man lived or disappeared without a trace. This is the story of one American soldier who found himself alone, surrounded by German forces, with no backup, no clear escape, and no time to panic. And what happened next was something no one on that battlefield expected. It was late afternoon when the snow started falling harder. Visibility dropped, sound became muffled, and that's when he realized he wasn't alone anymore. German voices, boots crunching in the snow, weapons clicking into place. They were closing in. The American soldier didn't run. He didn't shout. He didn't freeze. He stood still and listened. He had been separated from his unit hours earlier during a chaotic exchange of fire, smoke, confusion, broken radio signals. By the time things went quiet, everyone else was gone. Now it was just him. He could feel his heartbeat, slow and steady, not from fear, but from focus. Training took over. Years of drills, endless repetition, preparation for moments exactly like this. The Germans thought they had the advantage: numbers, position, control. They moved in carefully, expecting desperation. What they didn't expect was calm. The American soldier raised his hands slowly, showing no resistance. From their perspective, it looked like surrender. Weapons lowered slightly, tension eased just a bit. That hesitation would matter. As they stepped closer, he spoke calmly, his voice steady, measured, confident, not begging, not pleading, calm. It confused them. War teaches soldiers to recognize fear, but calm in a moment like this felt wrong. One German soldier stepped forward, another glanced behind him. Formation loosened. That was the moment. In combat, moments aren't measured in minutes, they're measured in heartbeats. Everything changed in less than a minute. The American soldier moved with precision, not rage. Every action was controlled, deliberate, and fast. The forest erupted into chaos. Shouts, movement, shock. What followed was not reckless violence, but pure survival, calculated, efficient, unrelenting. The Germans hadn't expected resistance. They hadn't expected skill. They hadn't expected him to fight back at all. But he did. And when it was over, the forest fell silent again. Snow continued to fall, covering footprints, muffling echoes, hiding what had just happened. The American soldier stood alone once more, breathing slowly, scanning his surroundings, making sure it was truly over. No celebration, no relief, just awareness. He knew staying there was dangerous. Reinforcements could come at any moment. He moved. Hours later, exhausted, cold, and wounded, he finally made contact with Allied forces. When he told them what had happened, they didn't believe him at first, not because they doubted his courage, but because what he described sounded impossible. Surrounded, alone, outnumbered, and yet he had survived. Stories like this didn't always make headlines. They didn't always appear in official reports, but they lived on in quiet conversations between soldiers. Moments where training, discipline, and mental strength mattered more than numbers. This wasn't about being fearless, it was about control. Fear was there, it always is, but he didn't let it decide his actions. He didn't panic, he didn't rush, he didn't lose himself. That's what separated him from countless others who faced similar situations and never came back. War doesn't reward anger, it rewards clarity. Years later, veterans would talk about moments like this not with excitement, but with reflection, because surviving something like that stays with you forever. The sounds, the cold, the silence afterward. Even decades later, the memory remained sharp. When asked about that day, the American soldier never exaggerated, never glorified it. He simply said he did what he was trained to do. Nothing more, nothing less. That answer told people everything they needed to know. Because real strength doesn't announce itself, it doesn't boast, it doesn't seek attention. It stays calm when everything else falls apart. In World War II, thousands of men faced moments where the world narrowed down to a single choice: freeze or act, panic or focus, give in or stand firm. Most never knew which choice they'd make until the moment arrived. This American soldier did, and that choice saved his life. History remembers battles, dates, maps, numbers. But it's moments like this that reveal the true cost and character of war. One man, one decision, one impossible moment. Surrounded by enemies with no way out, he didn't flinch. And because of that, he lived to tell the story. That's the reality of war, not constant chaos, but brief moments where everything depends on who you are under pressure. And that moment, in that frozen forest, showed exactly who he was.